The USA have won yet another competition.
Come on.
In CONCACAF, 3 in a row, more trophies than England. Let's get into it.
Yes, straight into it. Like you said, we're going to start 2 games ago. Mexico versus USA. 3-0 over Mexico. It felt great. It felt
game.
tremendous.
Great game.
It was a dominant from minute 1 to 90, it felt, really.
Well, as long as they actually played, until
when they were playing.
The Mexico fans,
But
we'll get there.
During the game, lineup, start with that as we always do from the beginning.
You know.
We liked it. Balogun in, Pulisic, Reyna in the midfield. We saw a midfield 3.
Yeah.
BJ Callahan throwing out some different. Yeah. Reyna in the midfield, who was cooking.
Yeah.
Musa and McKinney. Tyler Adams is out. Tim Ream's out. We have a few other names. But overall, it was a pretty strong USA team.
I think this was definitely the strongest 11 in terms of who the fans and the global fan base really think are the best players available.
I wouldn't say that. I think Tyler Adams is definitely
No, because he's hurt. I mean,
available,
available right now.
Available right now.
But I think that if Greg were to be in the role for this, we'll get into that. I'm not even going to go there. But I like the lineup. It was a good lineup.
Yeah.
It was exactly what we thought it was going to be. Balogun on top, getting that first start, getting some minutes in. That was crucial.
Balogun didn't get the goal, but had a good game overall. He got fouled a lot. A big foul, which caused some scenes later in the game after we were already up 3-0. Pulisic with 2. Tim Weah with an amazing performance. Tim Weah is showing why he's so vital to this team. That performance against Mexico was almost perfect from him.
Like you said, that started everything. He did get hit quite a few times. He's the one that's dropping in a little bit more, letting the wingers have their space. And I think from the scoreline, we saw that worked perfectly.
Yeah. Ricardo Pepi, though, coming on for Balogun, getting the 3rd goal after Pulisic got his 2. Well-worked Dest with a game and a half.
Man.
Another person who got a red card later on, but Pepi walked around, put it in. 3-0. First time we beat Mexico 3-0 in a while. I can't
think ever. I think it's actually ever.
Well, yeah. Anyway, 3-0 against Mexico is always huge, especially in a semifinal. The red cards. The yellow cards started it. Then the red cards come out. The Mexico-USA rivalry is something.
It is a real one. Anybody that thinks that it's not, that it's like a manufactured, no, it definitely is.
It's real.
There's animosity between these two teams. Like, if you saw Pulisic talking before that game, he was making sure that they were fired up, knowing that this was the final for the USA in a lot of ways. And obviously you don't win the trophy for beating Mexico, but that in and of itself is a huge deal for this team. So he's just showing that captain mentality,
for sure.
And we saw more of that captain mentality in a couple of players that got red cards, namely Weston McKennie.
Absolutely insane scenes. Weston McKennie getting choked. Like, it's Jorge Sanchez from Mexico. Absolute disgrace.
Horrible.
Like, getting worked the whole game. Frustration from Mexico, I understand. It's a big rivalry.
You're
but
getting
that was just it was unacceptable, really, from
Uncalled
Mexico.
for.
The way we reacted, the USA players,
I don't blame them at all.
it wasn't correct. It wasn't right. But
As a
they're
human being,
definitely initiating it and antagonizing. USA retaliated, got their red cards. Mexico got their red cards, well deserved. It really just wasn't pretty scenes at all. It's not what you want to see.
Well, and I agree that Serginho Dest definitely should have received his red card. But McKennie, he definitely had quite a few Mexican players around him grabbing him by the throat, as obvious by the jersey, completely ripped off. Mm-hmm. But he barely touched a dude in the chest, towards his neck, not even on his neck. And he got the red because he came over to instigate it. And I guess you can say that's justified. But when you just see your new star striker get absolutely booted, what else are you going to do?
3-0, though, over Mexico. We beat them in the semifinal.
Love it.
We take it. We move on to the final against Canada.
once again, we like the lineups
Yes.
as well as we can. You know, missing McKinney, like we said, missing Dest, it's tough. And the 2 replacements that came in, balled out.
Aronson coming in and Scally. Good performances.
Shout out.
We also saw a center back change from Zimmerman coming in for Robinson. Robinson, who had a good game against Mexico.
Yeah, clean sheet always is a good game.
It was a good defensive performance. And another shout out from a defensive performance against Canada, Anthony Robinson. Absolutely insane. Chris Richards, absolutely insane. Those 2 were clamping it down at the back.
They really tried to focus on that right side on Anthony Robinson. That a lot of that first half and first 60 minutes, they were just constantly put it in, and we were able to stop it every time. I mean, Musa, shout out, gotta give him his props, because these last 2 games, we didn't even mention him about Mexico, but he had a fantastic game against Mexico.
Playing in the 6 role today, or
follows
against
it up,
or against Canada.
playing in a new role for him, because he plays on the right, kind of a 8 to a right mid for Valencia. So DM is not his natural position. You know, that 6 is not his natural position, but he got it done. He did so great. He provided perfect cover for that back line.
Yeah.
And really helped out Anthony Robinson.
The work rate was insane from the whole midfield, honestly. Reina playing his part defensively, which he had to.
On a bum ankle.
Great performance overall from the midfield in general. I thought it was an outstanding display from Balogun against Canada. Getting in behind. That goal from Reina. Reina, again, not only the defensive, but his attack. Two assists against Canada. Setting up that Balogun goal was insane. And then the corner for Richards, 2 goals from 2 players who score their first international goal for the USA.
In a final.
It's lovely. It's what you want to see. And it's like, you can only feel really happy for those players because they score their first international goal. Not only to get to do that for your country, but to get to do that in a final to help them win a trophy is insane.
And if there's anybody out there, in particular, you know, coaches, former, past, you know, unfortunately present, that are listening, just play Reina as a 10. Play him there. Look what he has done these last 2 games. He's flourished. And if you don't see that, you don't deserve the job. Not that you do in the first place, but even more so.
And I would love to see a midfield of Reina, McKinney, and Adams. I love Musa. And maybe Musa's fighting for that spot over McKinney in the shirt right now.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
And that's good for competition.
That's what we want, is competition in those spots. So Reina through the midfield as a 10, insane. Like, our depth is very good now. We didn't used to have that. Now we have players who we can come in again in a final. We get 2 red cards against Mexico. We had players hurt before that. We had plenty of people out.
Scally
plenty of
and
options.
Aronson, you're in. We're
plenty
good.
of options. They're in. They slot in. We get a 2-0 victory against a Canadian team who played all right. I felt like it was a pretty back and forth game for the first few minutes until we got our goal.
I think Scally did really well on Davies. You know,
Davies was whipping the crosses in, doing what he does. He had a few weird mistakes that you wouldn't really expect from him.
It wasn't full fitness.
Yeah, it wasn't full fitness. Probably due, like I was going to say, probably due to the fact that he's not fully fit. He's been out for like Bayern's past 5 games, I think it was. He played just a few minutes in the semifinal against Panama.
Yeah,
got a goal, but, you know, Panama. Nonetheless, though, huge 2-0 victory over Canada. CONCACAF Nations League champions. Christian Pulisic lifting another trophy for his team.
Capitan.
Sadly advocating for the coach that we now have, who we've just re-signed after going through months of, I think, looking for somebody. I think looking for another manager. Going from our first interim to the second interim. Now going back to the coach that we fired.
Even though both interim coaches were better and played better football.
Absolutely embarrassing.
Like we're saying, Greg, back in the job, you probably already know. You probably are already upset. I mean, this is not news to anyone that's a USA fan. Anybody that watches this team knows that these last 2 games and the last, 6 months in particular have been some of the most exciting and end-to-end games that we've played in the last 10 years. And it's just maybe a coincidence that the coach is the reason, because these players are so good when they're used correctly.
And you can say, yeah, Greg won this competitions. Yes, he did. Look at the way we're playing now. We dominated both of these teams. Dominated both of these games. I think a big factor of it has to do with personnel too. Starting Gio Reyna, our most giftedly, God-given talented player for sure.
Yeah. Technically
gifted player, best we have. He needs to be on the field. Why he wasn't for certain tournaments and stuff, we'll never know. Not saying we would have advanced past the Netherlands. Not saying we're going to win it all. But I want to see us playing the best possible football we can.
Yeah.
And I think most U.S. fans would agree that Greg Berhalter is not going to bring us the best possible football we could play. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. Does he deserve to coach the U.S.? You could maybe say that. But I would argue against it in saying because the talent we have, I think we need to exceed what we've done. And I don't believe Greg can do that. I think Greg has got us to where he can, and I thank him for that.
It's no longer enough to win in CONCACAF. Your record outside of CONCACAF is absolutely abysmal. But, everybody's saying the reason he got the job is because he won a couple of things, which, fantastic, we appreciate. But you have plateaued with this team. You cannot take it any higher.
No higher.
And to get that job back, to think that if you were in the job for 4 years, which I hope is not what is going to happen, but if you're in the job for 4 more years and you think that a round of 16 exit would be acceptable again, which is what would probably happen if we're lucky to make it out of the groups, then you're crazy. He's not going to do any better with this team, especially with some of the relationships that he already has with players that he didn't select for games or competitions.
Yeah.
Some of our key players, Reyna, Pepe, Scally, these are
John Brooks' relationship's been ended for years now, and nobody knows why. He's been one of our better center backs for the past decade, honestly. Not saying he slots right in, but why he's not being chosen. Look what he's doing at club level, what he's done for Wolfsburg now, I think it was, or Schalke.
Now Schalke.
He's helped them stay up, and he's been a huge part of it. The coach has said that. He's a player who's made an impact pretty much everywhere he's went at club level. He's made an impact when he was on the U.S., when he was playing for us.
And now he's nowhere near.
Why he's not now? Particularly one man. Particularly one man, I think we know who.
OGB.
Okay, that's all.
That's our rant.
We win CONCACAF, another trophy, Gold Cup coming up. We'll let you know how that goes.
Gonna send the B team, so maybe not quite as well, but we'll still probably win.
We'll probably win.